You're listening to the Wide World of Wu. Thanks for tuning in. We've got Andy with us, holding it down in Minneapolis, Minnesota. How's it going, Andy?
Not bad. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm kicking back. I got my Clarks on. Not dyed, unfortunately. Just kind of your basic. I don't know what material it is, but yeah, we'll get to Clark's a little bit later on because we're gonna be talking Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Linx, or if you really want to impress fellow Wu-Tang fans, just call it the purple tape. What do you call it?
Oh, well, I've referred to it as both. I always say Cuban Links, but
Yeah.
whenever somebody says the purple tape, I like kind of do the side glance, like you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, I've always called it Cuban Linx because my copy's not purple, and it never has. I've never had a purple tape. I've had a red and yellow CD. But that's what we're talking today. Raekwon, Chef Raekwon, and Tony Stark's, aka Ghostface Killah's Only Built for Cuban Linx. It came out August 1st, 1995 on Loud Records. It hit gold 2 months later. In October, it hit platinum February 24th, 2020, almost 25 years later. So just like GZA's Liquid Swords, it took a while, but it definitely got there. It's 17 tracks or 18 tracks with the CD bonus of North Star. Produced entirely by the RZA. The singles are Heaven and Hell, which came out almost a year before the album, as it was included on the soundtrack to the movie Fresh. Criminology is another single. Ice Cream, of course, the big single, and Rainy Days. All of those, except for Rainy Days, received music video treatment alongside Glaciers of Ice and Incarcerated Scarfaces, which were also made into videos. So have you had a chance to look back at the videos?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, what stood
Actually,
out?
quite a few. Well, I would say that I feel like a lot of the videos, like 36 Chambers videos and even like Liquid Swords videos, were kind of almost more, except for the exception of a couple, were more in the same vein.
Yeah.
And these ones kind of got more like, I definitely feel like Raekwon had a certain vision for what he wanted, where the videos kind of had the grainy feel, but at the same time, they kind of had the more like mafioso type videos. I feel like it might have been an early influence on what was to come, as far as that style of like rap music is concerned. The shots of like the crew and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Oh man, I wish I could remember, and I wanted to go back and watch them more, but I didn't have an opportunity. There was one, speaking of the crew shots, where they were like behind the fence, or they were up on the fence. I think they were on a rooftop at some point.
Yep.
Was that must have been, it must have been Incarcerated Scarfaces, right?
I think that is the video for Incarcerated Scarfaces.
Okay. And I was laughing because like it's I really like that beat. It's not like super aggressive, like it's kind of in between, but the way they're like mobbing and dancing like in the background is like way more aggressive than the song.
Yeah, I agree.
But I did enjoy that one. I liked Criminology. I'll be honest, I couldn't really figure out what was going on with it. Like they were standing in like a water treatment center or like a waterfall, or seemed like there was rushing water behind them.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird one.
Yeah, and then like right at the end, they had like the samurai or ninja stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like in a weird way, just like thinking about what you were just saying, and then kind of thinking about like some of the background of the album, like because I remember like in reading this now, and I remember kind of reading it before that they wanted to go to Barbados and do it,
Right, right.
and then they went there, and there was a lot of like crazy stuff going on there,
Yeah,
and
like
they ended up,
racism apparently.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so they came back and did it in Riz's basement, but I feel like that in some sort of weird way, like they were just like having fun because they were probably just starting to make some money, and they
Mm,
probably just shot this crazy video.
yeah.
Like that kind of makes zero sense, but
Right, right. But it was like it was a little out of left field, like with the imagery.
for
And
sure.
incarcerated. So yeah, incarcerated Scarface. We talked about Glaciers of Ice. I like that one as well. Kind of creepy, like warehouse vibe.
Yeah, that one's a
Uh,
really good one.
I mean, that one I just love the song, and I think the music video really matched it.
That is, yeah. Actually, that one I had the least time to watch, but I rewatched today,
Mhm.
and that is a really good video. That is
Yeah,
a great song too.
yeah. Um, what do you think of the artwork on Cuban Links?
I do. I think it's interesting in a lot of ways because, um, well, like when I think of like the Cuban Links artwork, I kind of think of like mixtape artwork in a way.
Okay.
Like it kind of reminds me of like, I mean, I don't know if you remember like seeing like when we were probably in like high school, like a lot of people would put out like mixtapes, and like especially like the like around the time like the Hot Boys and stuff like that were out. Like I was probably in
Uh-huh.
like middle school when that was out, but
Yeah. Yeah.
uh their covers were always like really crazy and like kind of almost looked like they were done on like oh god, what am I trying to think of, like paint, like the paint,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right.
talking, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like an upscale version of that in a way.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's
exactly.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
like a little gaudy, which I think is kind of on point for like the um mafiosa, like braggadocio, like uh I don't know if Raekwon's in a kimono or like if that's a PLO scarf. It's like on. I don't know what's
it's
going
hard to
on,
tell.
but he's got like his dome is like smoking. It's like I think is that like smoke rising off the top of his head because I don't see like a cigar or anything.
It looked like it. It must have. I don't even know.
It's Danny Hastings who did the 36 Chambers artwork and has worked with Wu, fair
Oh,
amount.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, the fold out is really nice. It's the booklet folds out to like the table of like the goblets, and you got all the guys. I think minus Method Man. I don't see Meth there, but
Okay.
it like full mafioso style. They've got all their bottles and the candles, and so kind of doing that blurring technique that Danny Hastings did on the cover of 36 Chambers, like a
For
pretty
sure.
subtle blurring. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not the most original cover, but I like it. I think it suits. I think it's nice that it has Ghostface on it since he played such a pivotal role.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah, it's very memorable. That's for sure.
right, right.
Like I can always remember it, and especially the color schemes because they seem to use that a lot back in those days.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
And yeah, and Ghostface. So it's Chef Raekwon guest starring Tony Starks in parentheses Ghostface Killah. I guess he was still still enunciating the last syllable. So yeah, I think it fits. It's pretty recognizable. So that's about all I've got for art. Anything else in terms of background or folklore or anything else? You already mentioned about the Barbados stuff, but anything else about this album?
So, I actually couldn't find any information on it. But I was kind of trying to figure out because like I know that there's album is kind of supposed to play out like a movie basically, and it's obviously very much like a mafia
Yep.
style movie.
Mhm.
And but I was curious to like what particular movies it was supposed to be like
Yeah. Yeah, so it is John Woo's The Killer is kind of what it's loosely based on, and which is such a great choice for a
Okay.
number of reasons. So John Woo, Hong Kong director of a number of widely regarded films, but known mostly for his action films. So this is the perfect kind of like everything up to this point has been kung fu samples, right?
Yeah.
I believe for the most part.
For the most part.
And so this is, yeah, there is martial arts in The Killer, very minimal, but it's really more of a mob movie. It's more, and I actually have to say that loosely, but it's the story of two, it really mirrors Cuban Linx quite a bit. It's a story of kind of two guys from opposite sides ultimately teaming up. I'm going to try not to throw too many spoilers in there. It's a great movie, and it's so great because it, you know, like I said, it has these two guys, so aka Raekwon and Ghostface in our context, and the literal translation for The Killer. So obviously it's Cantonese. It has a different title, and it doesn't translate directly. The direct title of the actual movie is Pair of Blood Splattering Heroes, which
Oh, wow.
that isn't that perfect for Ray and Ghost.
Yeah, it is. That is really cool.
So
Okay, so yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So no, there's just a lot to wrap your head around. I mean, RZA, from what I understand, this was RZA's choice to use The Killer as kind of the thematic framework. So you hear it in the beginning of a couple different songs. The intro, Striving for Perfection, that background music is the kind of the reprise from The Killer, and then it comes in again. I think Incarcerated Scarfaces and Rainy Days, I think those both have samples from The Killer and a little bit of its music. And there was one other thing I was going to say about it. Anyways, it's just a good transition from going like strictly, well, I believe mostly Hong Kong kung fu films to still like in the Hong Kong cinema arena, with some martial arts, but now it's more of a crime action mob movie. And so
For sure.
in the liner notes, whoever wrote the liner notes wrote special thanks to John Woo, who is the director, but they spelled it Woo like Wu-Tang, WU, rather than how it's actually spelled, WOO. And from what I read, RZA just like kind of banked on the fact that it was going to be okay to use. Like he said they could settle it eventually, but ultimately John Woo didn't ask for any money and was, you know, cool with them using all of these clips. So that's kind of the story behind The Killer and like how it serves as a framework, and kind of loosely, because Raekwon tells his own story, which is, you know, very different. So in The Killer, the main character is doing like one last hit. He's an assassin. He's doing one
Yep.
last hit, and then he's getting out of the game. And that's kind of how it sets up striving for perfection, with Ray and Ghost talking about how they're going to do like one last job, and then they're going to, you know, retire, like have peaceful lives with their families, etc.
For sure.
So it's really pretty loose, but also very on point in terms of connecting with it. And I can't think of a better pick. So that's the story with The Killer, and only built for Cuban Linx. You also might remember from 36 Chambers, there was the Killer tape skit where Ray is questioning Meth about the whereabouts of his Killer cassette tape, and it gets interrupted in comical fashion. But so this kind of brings it full circle, where not only is the Killer back, but it's the real life Killer integrated with Ray and Ghost story. So with that said, let's get into, unless do you have anything else?
Oh no, I was actually just thinking, okay, so I stumbled across this RZA interview where he talks about all those things, and I thought that was the movie that connected with this album, and now it all makes sense, because he was basically saying John Woo never asked, like you said, for money, wasn't mad about it, actually reached out to him and said it was really cool. And he said that him and Ghostface have actually had like dinner with John Woo a few times, and I was like, damn, that must have been pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So cool when that like works out for the best, rather than someone getting sued and like having to retract songs or beats or pull things off shelves or whatever.
Definitely.
So what was the first time you heard this record or came across this record?
This actually is a record that I don't know, like I can't like say I had heard it as much as like 36 Chambers or maybe Wu-Tang Forever when I was younger, but I do remember this album kind of, or like being around like from my brother. I definitely kind of remember like Incarcerated being like a song that I remember the hook for. So
Yep.
yeah. So like I kind of have like vague memories of being little and like hearing some of the songs and like some of the hooks and stuff like that. But I definitely think this album probably came in much later, kind of like Liquid Swords for me.
Okay.
Like I kind of discovered it on my own through my own like wanting to learn about Wu-Tang Clan and everything. So
yeah. It's interesting you remember the hook, and it's not that interesting because I think it makes sense. Like they're pretty memorable hooks. I think Raekwon is one of maybe only a couple members who like really that kind of plays to his strength, is he can do a hook like really proficiently. I think maybe Method Man too. Those two are the ones that come to mind. Of course, that hook in the title track of Liquid Swords that had RZA and ODB and Jizza had been doing for years. But like beyond that, I think this album in particular like has so many like catchy, memorable hooks, which are probably hard for rappers to do, right? Like they're not singing, but they're trying to, make it memorable at the same time. But definitely Raekwon seems to have a knack for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot of things that I kind of thought while listening to this album, and just in general, like while doing all this, like just taking these notes and listening to the music and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that is one thing, is like there's like groups of people in this group that are really good at certain things. And one thing I thought a lot about is how I feel like Jizza, Raekwon, and Ghostface are like the best classic storytelling rappers out of the group. But like RZA and Master Killah kind of do it too, but they don't do it in the traditional sense like those three do. They do it more of like a visual, like they're like describing like movements and stuff like that, and like so I don't know,
for
Probably
sure.
dug way too deep, but
No. I agree with you on that. That's a good way to kind of frame it. I didn't hear this until 2010. I got this as a gift from Jason Lee, bass player of Triple Cross. We were living together at the time, and
okay.
he gave it to me as either a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. I think it was birthday. And he must have known like it's a classic album. We didn't really like talk that much about it, but I think he just knew I was gonna like it. So I bumped it in my car for a long time. I think this one more so than Liquid Swords. I didn't appreciate it until I listened to it in a really attentive setting, like more so than my car.
Yeah.
Because there are those narrative elements of it that really piece it together. Like, for instance, the car crashing at the end of Knuckleheads, like that's you God getting killed or whatever. Like, I wouldn't have noticed that if it was just like playing in my car as I was driving around, and just a
Yeah.
lot of those like little nuances. So it's definitely, my appreciation for it has grown a lot in recent years as I've spent more time listening to it in headphones and kind of following the story arc of it. But even when I was listening to it the first time, like you've got that long skit intro that, me, I'm not a huge skit person, but it kind of pulls you in a little bit. Like,
For
I
sure.
mean, that sample from The Killer is so good. Like the music, the arrangement is so good. And then you striving perfection is like the perfect way of putting it. And I mean, once Knuckleheads hits, you're like, how can you not like Knuckleheads? That's like, it's just so catchy. It's like the catchiest. I think it's one of the catchiest hip hop songs that doesn't have a hook.
For sure. No, dude, it's like in my notes, I basically think I have like 95 classic boom bap, like just
uh-huh.
bars, boom bap beat, like fun beat,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely. For
Yeah.
sure.
So that was my introduction, what pulled me in. And I'm still enjoying it. So let's get into the beats, bars, and top tracks. Do you want to kick us off on beats?
Yeah, sure. Well, what am I? Let me look here for a second. Hmm. Guillotine.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
you had sent me a link. You were listening to the Rozelle album
Yeah.
not too long ago,
Yeah.
and I remember I was obsessed with that album. It was one of my brothers. It was one of the ones I used to steal all the time.
Okay.
and
So did you
and
know that he was in the Roots? Was that just me who didn't know?
I didn't know it until a little bit later.
Okay.
I found that out probably a couple years after I'd kind of been listening to that album.
Okay.
So was Scott Storch actually,
Right. I did. I did know that. May
which
his
I
dignity
actually just
rest in peace.
yeah, I did not learn that until like a year or two ago, and I was like, wait, what?
Right.
Anyways, so on that album, Razel does this clip where he does that beat, and I always
Oh.
like, yeah, and I was always like obsessed with that clip because like when I first heard that Razel album, I'd heard the song, but I didn't really like. I was so young, I didn't really know like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was obsessed with him doing that beat. And I thought it was so cool. And then I heard that song years later and I was just like, man, this beat is like one of the sickest, coolest beats ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a posse cut and it's like it's everything it needs to be. I love that beat so much. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's my favorite on the album, but it's definitely one of my favorite beats of all time, I think, for sure.
Guillotine or guillotine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a super cool beat. To me, it's like, I love it. It reminds me of like, did you ever play that PlayStation game, Tenchu Stealth Assassins?
No, but I do know what you're talking about.
Okay, so it reminds me of that a little bit. Like it doesn't necessarily remind me of mafiosa mob type movie, you know, like I don't
Yeah,
think you would hear that song in like Goodfellas or Once Upon a Time in America, but it is a super cool beat, and I agree it's one of my favorites.
for sure. Yeah, no, there's definitely a little bit of that on this album too. Is like there is a little bit of, well, I did hear like them saying like, you know, since everybody was basically just kind of showing up to Riz's all the time, sometimes they would grab beats and be like, this one's mine,
Right.
you know. So I can see how that must have been one of those beats that it must have just been playing, and Raekwon was just like, I need that, you know, that's the dope beat. And it
Yeah.
does fit the album, but it definitely fits it in a way where it's like it had to be kind of squeezed in there, you know, like
Right.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to go ahead and say that about that beat because that Rozelle clip is uh I don't know, it got me into like way more into that song.
Yeah. And isn't that beat like, aren't little pieces of that beat used at the beginning of like at least two songs on Tikal?
I think so, yeah. Actually, I think you might be right. I haven't listened to Cal in so long.
It just
I should,
like starts off the songs, I believe, like which is odd that it's such a good beat, but it's like there's just a little clip of it and then it like completely lets go of it and goes into something else.
yeah, and that could have had a lot to do with the fact that he was making all those albums like pretty much at the same time.
Right. Right.
Yeah, which is I've been thinking about that too, and I'm like, man, that guy must like Madlib and him just must be like totally crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and Incarcerated Scarfaces, that beat was actually originally meant for Liquid Swords.
Oh, I didn't know that. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, yeah. If you listen to it, it's got like a little more distortion and like just kind of fits a little bit more in the Liquid Sword style than this one. But I mean, I still really like it. But just,
Yeah,
speaking of kind of sharing beats and divvying them up and splicing them and everything, it's interesting that that ended up on Cuban Links rather than Liquid Swords.
for sure. Um, oh, Ice Water. Ice Water is another really great beat, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, kind of caught me off guard because I kind of always forget about that song, and then when I listen to the album, I'm like, oh yeah,
Ice Water is the one that starts off with like the Tommy Hill and then the do like a weird like Casio sound, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
Yep,
it goes into the like it's like a vocal sample, right? Like
yep,
right? Okay,
yep.
okay. That one always reminded me of like the Count from Sesame Street, like five.
Yeah,
But it is
I can
good.
totally see that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, that is totally. I can never listen to that song the same again.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's something about this album with the beats too that I can just generally say about the whole album and all the beats is that all like Liquid Swords, Decal kind of had, you know, every album kind of seems a little, obviously for reasons, but is kind of catered towards the style of the artist.
Yeah.
But like in this one, RZA really like got into like I feel like with this and like Iron Man, like RZA really got more into like the strings
Yep.
and like
Yep.
he like I read a little thing where he's talking about like Isaac Hayes being a huge inspiration as far as that goes, and it makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah,
And it
for sure.
yeah sets
It
the tone for what those two would end up kind of sounding like in general, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's really right on point with my observation is I felt like RZA matched the music for the most part with Raekwon's strength, which I think along with storytelling, I think one of his strengths is style. Like, and it
Yeah,
is kind of hard to pin down exactly. Maybe I'll get into that a little bit on my hypothesis on what I think that style comprises of. But you're right. It's like the strings, like everything is like smooth and like stylish, and it's not the most intricate, but It works with Raekwon, and it works with that kind of like mafiosa theme.
For sure. Definitely. And we kind of touched on that when we did the 36 Chambers episode, where we were talking about how on that album they were still kind of in that old schoolish like cadence, but like Raekwon kind of always just had this style. And RZA even said like for some reason when Raekwon gets on a song, it just sounds like a record.
Right.
You know. And he kind of just he's like the Christian Hosoi of the Wu-Tang Clan. he's
style guy.
All style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So. All right. Any other beats that jump out or observations on beats?
There's so many great beats on this record. This record, like it's like I would say Liquid Swords is probably my favorite Wu-Tang album. Like, and I just because I guess I don't know, that album just clicks with me.
Yeah.
But this album is like a phenomenal album. Like I have to like kind of take a back seat to what I said before and just go ahead and say like as far as like this record goes, like every time I put it on, I'm just like blown away at how well RZA did on the production side of things and matching up with like what Raekwon can do as an artist. Like those two had a really great chemistry on this record.
Yep.
And obviously Raekwon had a vision, and I know that I can't say that without saying that Ghostface wasn't a part of that vision, because I know that those two wrote a lot together and spent a lot of time like thinking about these things together and talking about them. So
right.
I gotta say kudos to both of them for making this really phenomenal, like almost beautiful piece of work in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. What's your score on beats 1 to 10?
Ooh, I'd have to give this album. It's hard to say. I'm trying to remember what I gave Liquid Swords, but I would have to say for this album, it's tough to say. I want to say 9.5, but I might just say 10 because this album, as far as like musically, it is very flawless in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, you actually covered a lot of what I was gonna cover, so I won't repeat what you already said, but just the like I already said, the framework of the Killer, like so seamlessly integrated into the album musically and story wise. I mean, there's like that song Rainy Days. It starts off with the Killer clip and a little bit of the music, and I don't know if it's intentional, but the singing, like Blue Raspberry's singing, almost mimics the singing in the Killer of the female lead, who is also a singer, and it's the details are so intricate. So yeah, I'm with you on like, I won't say it's flawless, but there's a lot to like there, and the just the overall kind of cohesiveness I think is quite good. I wouldn't say it's as high for me as Liquid Swords, because Liquid Swords had that really good sequencing where each song would kind of flow. And this one is like, it's a little bit more start and stop. Like, I think it's like Wisdom Body, maybe, or what song is it? It's Spot Rushers that comes to like a super abrupt stop. And that might have been kind of a reflection of the story. I mean, you could make the argument for it, but it's a little bit more all over. The production, I think, is a little bit more all over the place when you have like Guillotine, which is like a little, not quite
you're right.
not the mob stuff, but and then
it gets a little off at the end of the album. That's one thing I was thinking.
Yeah,
it starts kind of like, you start to hear more like Wu-Tangy type stuff, like actual like group Wu-Tang type sounding beats instead of like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, sorry.
Okay.
I was thinking that earlier too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good observation. Um, so I like Knuckleheads. I like that beat a lot. It's catchy. I listened to what the sample was based on, and I couldn't really like draw out how the the beat for Knuckleheads is so catchy compared with the original song. I mean, not that the original was like boring or anything. Like I could hear the chord progression, but something I don't know. RZA, in my opinion, made it better. Um, I like
That's good.
yeah, Knowledge God. With the strings coming in, that really like I feel like that starts to pull you into the theme a little bit more. It's like you've got like the fun like heist or whatever they're doing in Knuckleheads, and then like you God dies or gets killed or whatever, and then like the drama starts with Knowledge God and those strings, and like the more mafiosa stuff starts coming in, and same with Rainy Days and
For sure.
Criminology is a cool beat. It seems like people are really bananas about that beat, and I like it a lot. I don't entirely understand why people think it's like so great. Like obviously Ghostface liked it. But
Yeah.
do you have any insight on that? Are you a big Criminology beat fan?
I kind of actually, honestly, I feel bad because so many people do love that beat. I
Yeah,
think it's a good beat. I think it's a good song. It's a great single for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But especially for those, for Raekwon and everybody. But I uh, I honestly think that like Incarcerated Scarface is a better beat.
Yeah.
Like as far as if I was
Yeah.
to pick like between those two or
Okay.
any, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I am in the same boat.
Yeah. 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 I like it. I mean, I like the horns, and like I like it's kind of like it toggles between that two different parts, right? You've got like
Hmm.
the break and the horns and the strings, and then I don't even know what the instruments are that are being used in the verse, like the down down.
I
I
don't
don't
either.
know. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, a lot of great beats on this. The ones I'm not such a huge fan of, I think you already know, from our Enter the 36 Chambers episode, which I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I was saying it wrong. I think I've always been saying the name wrong. Can it be all so simple? I think I always say, can it all be so simple? Because I don't know, for
Oh,
some reason it doesn't sound right in my head. Do you know what you say or what we were saying then?
oh man. No, I don't remember, but we might have been. Because I think I always say it different every time I say it, to be honest.
it's like
But
it's like
yeah.
logically I knew that it was can it be all so simple, but I just can't think that way or can't say it. Anyways, I didn't like that beat the first time in 36 Chambers. I still don't like it now. And they didn't really change the song enough for me to, I mean, it's like, it's lyrically, it's not bad. And even the beat isn't really bad. I don't like that fat bass, that fat buzzing bass. Um,
Yeah.
so that one yeah, I don't even understand how is it really a remix? Like is there anything different about the beat in this one? I haven't listened to them back to back.
Well, I guess I kind of like it because it's like a fun like revisit to that
Yeah,
song, and
yeah,
whatever. It
yeah,
makes sense in a certain way.
yeah,
But yeah, no, it's weird that they brought it back, but at the same time it has its thing. It has
yeah,
its I do like that song,
yeah.
but I guess I've noticed like the beat I feel like is pretty much exactly the same. I feel like there might be like little nuances that are different.
Okay.
But I mean, other than that, it's mostly that the lyrics are different.
Right. Okay.
you know?
Okay. Yeah. Um my only other complaint is that, and this is probably going to sound ridiculous, but I think the beat should be switched for Wisdom Body and Ice Cream. So Ice Cream is like this kind of like sinister, like minor key, and but the song is not, right? So
Yeah.
and Wisdom Body is like this kind of like fun, like sexy, summery type, but the lyrics are a little bit more shady. So it's like I just feel like either the names should be switched or the lyrics and the beats should be switched. Or anyways, that's my thing with particularly Ice Cream is like, yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't feel like it fits, which is weird because it's like I believe the most popular song and probably did the best commercially. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you like it?
I do like both of those songs. Ice Cream is, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. Is a song that I do actually remember like pretty specifically from when I was younger.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it was like the
that
hit, I think.
yeah, no, it was a huge single. I do remember vaguely like seeing the video for it and everything. That hook I definitely remember. But I actually kind of agree with you. Like I didn't really think about it like that, but I definitely always listened to Ice Cream and was like, I love this beat and I love this song, but it is kind of weird that they're talking about this topic over this really dark beat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now
So
you say switching those, I'm like, yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Um, one other one, since we're on the topic of ice, that I do really like is Glaciers of Ice, and I don't think we've mentioned that yet in terms of the
No, yeah.
beats. But I love that I guess it's the outro with 60-Second Assassin, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's been a long time, or whatever he says. It's just, the album doesn't have a ton of singing, but I like that kind of subtle melody at the end of that song. Gives it,
Sure.
and that beat, like the strings layered on top of that piano loop, just give it nice dynamic depth. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give give Beats on Cuban Linx an 8.9. So very very high, but I think more than a couple that I'm like, or I just don't think it quite fits. But if we were talking just like the theme, kind of the cohesiveness and working with Raekwon's style and everything like that, that would be higher. But not talking just that, but taking everything into account, I think 8.9. So that's where I'm at for beats. So why don't we go to bars and tell me about your favorite verses and
I
lyrics.
want to take my 10 back because I actually agree with a lot of the things you're saying. And I'm going to go ahead and just give it a solid 9.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else on beats?
No, that's it. That's all I had to say.
All right. Cool. Well, jump into bars if you're ready and tell me what you like and don't like.
As far as bars go, I actually like Knuckleheads. Really great. Um, I just like bringing up the You God stuff because you're one of the first people I've met that's like You God doesn't get the props that he deserves.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've had a lot of epiphanies lately about Wu-Tang Clan, and one of those is that I feel like You God is like, and this is a bold statement, but is like the Snoop Dogg of the East Coast.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can kind
Yeah,
of see that.
yeah. Similar, very similar cadence in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Very like everything they say is just very cool. Like they like to spell things out when they say them.
Yeah.
One has a high voice, one has a low voice.
Right.
But You God's like the cool, like every time he doesn't always say the most complicated stuff,
Yeah.
out of all the members. But like what he does say, it flows and fits very nicely on the beat, and like always just kind of sounds cool, especially with his voice.
Hmm.
But that song, as far as bars go, like I think it's just like it's like kind of like that fun back and forth.
Hmm.
Just everyone's kind of spitting some bars. It's not like crazy complicated bars, but it's just like I don't know. It's a fun song. It's a good song.
Yep.
The concept of it's pretty cool. I like the fact that you God's at the end, and then he dies because basically he couldn't be on the rest of the album.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
Yep.
uh, but yeah, no. As far as bars go, I think this album is like a pretty barred out album. Like as far like I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of it's known for that. You
Right.
know, and like as far and like I mean Ghostface and Raekwon, you know, they even got Nas on the album,
Right.
you know, and you know, I think that says a lot to as far as like how serious they are about the bar aspects.
Right. Right. Yeah. What do you think of Nas's verse on Verbal Intercourse?
I think it's super classic Nas, like as soon as it kicks in. Um, you know, it might not be the craziest thing he's ever written, but I think
Right.
that it's just like it's got that classic Nas feel. It was kind of around that time that Nas was like becoming Nas anyways.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think it's really cool because those three to me really make a lot of sense together. They like kind of do a very similar thing. Like Illmatic has a very similar feeling to what this album does.
Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have that much else to say about Verbal Intercourse. Yeah, I like that song a lot. It does have a lot of good lines. And I like Nas. I don't know. This might just be my like a bad observation, but it seems like his voice is like a little weak, and I'm not sure if that's just compared to Ray and Ghost or if that's like the time in his life. But it's like I feel like when you're listening to this album, it's like these like hard hitting verses, and then Nas is
Yeah.
like it feels like it's either like lower in the mix or for some reason it just doesn't jump out at me in the same way. But that's all I have to say about that. I don't know if that's accurate.
Well, he definitely like back then he had more of like a chill style than I think a lot of people like. I mean, there
Yeah.
was other people that were kind of doing the chill style back then, but it wasn't as
Right.
like prevalent as like let's say it was after Nas, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
cuz like even Ghostface like on some of his later stuff and even features like he kind of chills out a little bit. He isn't
Right.
so like loud and
Yelling.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Like I feel like what G rap brought to like the cadence, like switching up the cadence in
Yep.
rap, like Nas kind of almost brought that with like his like let's say swagger, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What other songs or lyrical moments do you like?
Oh man. There's a lot of good ones here. Obviously Knuckleheads is a good one. That's a fun one. I
Yeah.
do
What I was gonna say is you God said that he didn't get to go back and re-record his vocals on Knuckleheads because he was incarcerated and like I wasn't sure if he was implying that everyone else did like go back and punch in or like clean up their vocals, but I don't think there's anything wrong with you God's verse. Like I can't hear any reason why he would want to. What do you have any thoughts on that?
maybe he just wanted it to be like the you know probably the best it could have been,
Yeah.
uh, but honestly I think it's really like it just fits that song so well because everyone in that whole song is kind of like that, like everyone's kind of doing that like bouncy cadence, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but I was just noticing, I think it's funny on the back of the CD, he's credited instead of you God, aka whatever his I mean, they all have their mafioso names, right?
Yeah.
And his is Lucky Hands, but it says Golden Arms, aka Lucky Hands, rather than You God.
Oh,
So
yeah.
kind of interesting. I don't know if that was a mistake or if he was like going to go by that at some point. Um, anyways, just we
Definitely
haven't
must
even,
have.
yeah, we should probably go through at some point and mention all the aliases. Well, I'll do that later. We'll
Yeah,
get to that.
there's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as bars go, I think like they like I like a lot of the posse cuts on here. You know, I think
Yep.
that they're all pretty good. I think everybody comes pretty hard on them.
Yep.
Um, Ice Water, I think that one is a very like barred out song. I think it's really good as far as that goes. Criminology, I love the way that Ghost comes in and
Yeah.
you
He
he
comes in
comes pretty hard.
pretty aggressive.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
that to me is like super classic Ghostface Killer. Like
Right. Right.
you know, he yeah no he I like every time I hear him coming on that song, I'm like oh yeah yeah because that beat is good, but
Yep.
it's not as it's not the best beat on the album for sure.
Right.
But when he comes in, I'm like okay,
Yeah. Yep.
everything's gonna be all right.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess as far as bars go, if man, it's hard to say. I don't have like a specific song on this album because I feel like this album is just that's what this album is. It's just like super hard bars, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
So uh I would say, do you want me to rate them or are we waiting
Yeah.
to do that?
What's your score for bars?
Ah man, on this album, I'd have to say, as far as bars go, I think this album, it's tough to say. Because I mean, there's, I could nitpick and say certain things about it, but at the
Right.
same time, like I feel like Raekwon is really solid as far as bars go,
Yeah.
and he's just
Yeah.
kind of all about his style and he's always on point. So I would say as far as bars go, this album's definitely I'll just say 10.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to find much fault in terms of lyric, like the delivery, or I mean there are like a couple lyrics I might object to, being at like 2020 or
Yeah.
2022 where I'm like, yeah, I might not have put that in there. But
For
keeping in
sure.
mind it, perhaps they were thinking of it as like a movie and um, writing a plot more than advocating for anything in particular. But I agree, it's very hard to find fault with the art of rapping on this album. And I kind of teased earlier what I thought I could pinpoint as part of what makes Raekwon's style so great. And I think it has quite a bit to do with his use of poetic devices of assonance, consonance, and alliteration. So assonance is, well, most people know what alliteration is. It's starting multiple words with the same letter. Assonance is when vowel sounds are the same. So that comes up actually quite a bit. So for instance, knowledge God, that ah sound, he
Yeah.
uses it a lot in the titles of his songs. Knowledge God, incarcerated scar faces. That one has assonance and consonance. So consonance is when it uses the same consonant sound as well as for vowel sound. So we've got knowledge God, incarcerated scar faces, rainy days, um, verbal intercourse. That one's a little less obvious, but
Yeah.
and heaven and hell, you've got the alliteration there. So he really uses those a lot. And incarcerated scar faces, that one I like because I'm not typically like solo tracks are rarely like at the top of my list. But that one it's hard to find better verses than incarcerated scar faces, and his use of those poetic devices. Here's the policy, slide off the ring, plus the wallabies, check the status, soon to see me at Caesar's Palace eating salads. Like it has all of those like so perfectly woven in, and
No, definitely.
but not just like nonsensical, right? Like he's actually like painting a picture with those words that are so poetically balanced.
For sure.
So
Definitely.
so and it's like throughout the album, and he's not the only one who does that. Like Inspector Deck has a great verse on guillotine. And I love the way he comes in with that kind of like false start, like poisonous, and then poisonous paragraph, smash your phonograph in half, like
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, it's great. And that same track, Jizza, I love how he ends that. Well, I think he starts off the first line as the like, or one of the first lines, nobody knows how we move like wolves in sheep clothes. And then finishes out with notorious henchmen from the north striking where the Mason-Dixon line crossed. Like that one always sticks in my head, striking where the Mason-Dixon line crossed. So those are a couple of my favorites. Wu Gambino's, posse cut.
Yeah.
I love the beginning where I think it's Ray is like, let's cut the pie 5 ways. I love that mentality, and I love like it captures both the story, kind of like that, we're all in this together, and like the overall aesthetic, or not aesthetic, the overall ethic of Wu-Tang. Like we're all brothers. Like I actually read that Raekwon gave Ghostface half of the $500,000. I don't know if it was advance or whatever he got for this. He just gave Ghostface
Dang.
half of it. Like you're my co-star, like you get half. I guess I can't verify that, but if that's true, that's pretty awesome. And I think
That's
that
yeah, no,
captures
that's
it.
super dope. Yeah, definitely.
I can't talk about this album without talking about RZA's verse in Wu Gambino's. This is, I think, the third out of 4 episodes we've done where I've brought up this opinion that RZA often has the best verse in a posse cut, and it's such a tongue twister, and I love the way he plays with language. The grand
Yeah.
exquisite imperial wizard, or is it the resurrected came to pay your ass a visit? It's just, there are so many great lines just in RZA's part of that song.
Mhm.
And Meth has a good verse. Raekwon has a good verse. Yeah, even Master Killah has a good verse in Wu Gambino's. So that lyrically is one of my favorites. Like you, it's very hard for me to assign this a score below 10. For some reason, I guess just like the little things that I might change. I'm going to give it a 9.7.
Okay. I think that's probably more fair than my score.
Well, I mean, you could round up to a 10, but yeah, it's I agree. It's just like, it's all about the bars on this record, and really hard to top. Why don't we go to top tracks? So tell me what your considerations were, and which one you're going to deem top track.
I have had such a hard. I've been thinking about that for I don't even know, the last couple of weeks, and it's really hard to like pick one because there's a lot going on this album. It's really good. Like I don't know. So I would have to say my top tracks. I would say obviously Knuckleheads is one of my favorite tracks on here. We've
Yeah.
kind of both expressed that. It's a good song.
Yeah.
I think Knuckleheads, Incarcerated Scarfaces is a great song. Rainy Days is a great song.
Okay.
And man, it's hard to choose my favorite track on the album. I gotta pick one more. I picked 4, right?
I heard Knuckleheads, I heard Rainy Days, I heard Incarcerated Scarfaces. Did you say another?
Oh no, I didn't. Okay, cool. uh Ice Water. I really like that track. I just like
Okay.
that beat a lot.
Okay.
And uh, jeez, what is it? Wu Gambino's is a good track, I think. You know
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You also, I think, mentioned like in Guillotine, or at least the beat to it.
that. Okay, yeah. I was trying to actually hold back from saying that one, but
Why?
I I guess because it is kind of like an off-putting song to the whole album, but I
Oh,
love
okay.
the beat so
Yeah.
much. Like
Yeah.
as far as beats go, that's probably one of my favorite beats, like for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll throw that in there.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Which one are you gonna pick though?
Jeez. A lot of pressure. Uh
It's not like you haven't had several weeks to figure it out.
no, that is true. I've just had such a hard time
No,
picking one.
I feel you.
I would have to say, as far as like top track on this whole album, this is I'm taking a risk here, and
Okay.
I'm saying this, but I think that honestly, in my time in the last couple weeks of listening to this album, Ice Water has become kind of one of my favorite tracks on this album, and
Okay.
I don't think it ever was really before, but like for some reason that beat and just that track are really like it's just gelling with me right now. So
All right. All right.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah. No,
yeah.
we'll take it. That's great. I will have to say I'm right there with you on Knuckleheads and Guillotine. Um, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I would also put Glaciers of Ice up there as a favorite. Um,
Yeah.
Initially, it was definitely Knuckleheads all the way, like that, as the first song, and just I love the sample and I love the delivery. Like I said, it has that one line that I would rather it not have, but then also, I mean, you know me, I'm like a posse cut kind of guy. So these days it's more between, I think, Guillotine and Wu Gambino's. And
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Wu Gambino's because I love RZA's verse. I love, the five guys on there. I love Method Man's chorus on that. Um,
Yeah.
I call you brother son because I shine like one, or I'm probably saying I call my brother son because he shine like one. Anyways, I'm butchering it, but it reminds me the theme song from Boondocks has a line like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. I haven't watched
Yeah. But I
that.
also like that. So I think I'm gonna go with Wu Gambino's. Just great chorus, great features, great group effort, and maybe this is a good time to talk about like solidifying the personas, the Wu Gambino personas of. You might have to help me out with this. So Raekwon is Lex Diamond, Ghostface Killah is as Tony Starks, Capadonna is Cappuccino, You God as Lucky Hands, Master Killa is Noodles, Jizza is Maximilian, RZA is Bobby Steels. Is that right? Yeah.
Think that's yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Nas is Nas Escobar. Um, just like Riley Escobar.
Oh, my favorite is Inspector Deck is Rolly Fingers.
Yeah, Raleigh Fingers. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. You got it. Method Man is Johnny Blaze.
Yep.
So allegedly they, and this is, I believe, according to both Raekwon and I was watching a Vlad TV interview with Steve Rifkin, they were gonna call the album Wu Gambino's, but I don't know if word got out or if, I guess, Steve Rifkin's dad like knew some of the Gambino crime family or something, and
Oh,
so he like
yeah.
maybe like consulted, and they're like, no, absolutely not. Like like you can have the song, but you can't name the album Gambino's in any way. So they nixed that. But
Okay.
it's funny how that kind of life imitates art with like the the mob stuff and getting involved with the mob. And anyways, I'm taking that as my top track. So let's get into overall score and talk about all the reasons why. So cohesiveness, guests, production, story, anything else you might want to consider, and give an overall score of 1 to 10.
Well, I guess this one I'll have to be a little more honest with myself. And because I just Liquid Swords, I'll probably just always like love no matter what the flaws are of that album, because
Yeah.
I just love that album so much. But
Yeah.
this one, I'll have to say that, yeah, no, towards the end of the album, it definitely kind of like it doesn't teeter off. It's still good. It just definitely takes like a different turn as far as like stylistically.
Yeah.
It yeah, there is little bit nuances of this album that maybe could be different. I'm glad it is what it is, but I guess at the end of the day, I'll have to give it maybe like I'll give it a 9.5. I was gonna say
Okay.
9, but I think I'll just be nice enough to give it a 9.5 because it is a
Okay.
really, really great album. So
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So I have a 9.4. So we're in pretty close agreement. What do you think of, last episode, Liquid Swords, we talked about the CD bonus track of Killah Priest's Bible. What do you think of North Star as the bonus track on this one?
I personally really think it's cool. I actually really like it. I think that it's like a really good, it's just like it fits the whole movie theme.
Yeah.
Like how it has striving for perfection is the intro.
Right.
Like North Star to me is like the perfect outro. It's like mafioso, but almost kind of like a Western like ending where like the music plays, the credits roll. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no, definitely. It's the best bonus track thus far.
All right. What so what do you think of Papa Wu does like the kind of like talking like pep talk or whatever, and then ODB is singing, which is ODB's only appearance on the album. So do you think ODB's presence was missing in the rest of the songs? Do you think it would have been better with him, or what are your thoughts on ODB's contributions to this album?
I do actually feel that way. Yeah, I feel like personally, like they might have been missing him a lot during this album. Personally, like as friends and fellow artists and all that. I feel like had he been on this album, obviously it would have been a lot of fun because everyone loves ODB and just he is who he is, and so. No, in a way, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like it's still a great album. It still is what it is, but I every time I listen to it, I kind of think about that actually. I'm like, dang man, that would have been kind of cool to have more of ODB on this album,
Yeah, it's really hard for me to envision like what it would have been like.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I can see it happening though.
Okay. Yeah. I'm okay with it the way with his contribution at the end. Like I honestly didn't know that he could actually like hold a tune pretty well. Like I like his singing in that song, and and his lyrical or his vocal delivery is like a little bit more all over the place. So I'm not sure which song it would have worked well on. I'm sure there is one that he could have pulled off, but I'm not sure. So I'm pretty okay with like the way it ended up. And especially the fact that he did, even though he didn't have a verse, he ultimately did contribute to the album is kind of nice. They had basically everyone,
Yeah.
you know, the whole clan, minus I guess whatever Killah Priest's role was. I don't I'm still kind of unsure whether he was like an original member and then Master Killah took his place, or if it was like it was really up in the air and then he now he's just like relegated to affiliate or what. But anyways, so
Yeah,
it's nice to have them all, you know, contributing to this movie and really pulling it off. Movie, of
for
course,
sure.
in quotation marks, but the story, I guess I should say.
Yeah,
um
no, for sure.
so what do you think of the skits on this one? We've got Striving for Perfection. We've got what else? We've got the Shark Biters. Let's see. Is there one before Spot Rushers? I want to say there is. Or yeah. What are your thoughts on the skits?
Overall, I think that they're on here. They're pretty solid. Some of them are just more like conversations. And I had actually like years ago watched this interview where RZA was talking about he's like with Ray and Ghost, it's so easy to do the skits because all I literally have to do is put the microphone in front of them and just turn the like hit record, and it
Right.
just like I edit them talking basically.
Right.
Because like I have to say like Ghostface does some of the best. Like I mean, his skits are really dark, and like some of the stuff he says is
Right.
super dark, and
Right.
it's probably stuff I would never say, but they are really good. Like he is a really funny person. Like he has that like super thick like accent,
Yeah.
like East Coast accent and everything. And it's just
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I like the fact that the ones on this album almost feel make it they kind of tie in with the feel of the movie aspect where like the
Right.
skits aren't so much like funny, they're just more like actual conversations.
Right. Yeah. And I think a perfect example of that is the Clarks. I think it's before Glaciers of Ice, where he's
Yeah,
talking about dying the Clarks, and I just love his enthusiasm for it. For that, it's like
yeah,
he's
he's
just
like
like
huge into that.
gushing.
Hmm. He's like
um,
super into fashion and everything. So yeah.
apparently, they just like took a recorder, like a 2-inch tape recorder in the car and like drove around and started talking like and that was the origin of this Glaciers of Ice skit. It was like an idea that he had or he'd already been doing like dying Clarks or something. I don't know. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't. I despite wearing Clarks right now, I didn't even notice until tonight that they were Clarks, and I didn't even really know what Clarks were for a long time. So this skit was kind of a mystery for a while, but eventually I pieced it together.
For
Um,
sure.
so yeah, Striving for Perfection I really like. You know, it really ties in nicely with the Killer crossover. The music in Striving for Perfection is like I don't know if you can. Sometimes I have a hard time hearing the song when I'm not listening to it or if I'm just thinking about it. But um, does so think about pressing play on track one and listen to Striving Perfection and the music in the background, and it's like I don't know what instrument it is, but it almost like, and this is probably subconscious or subliminal to me, but it kind of reminds me of like Pyrex glasses like clicking together a little bit. It's like, are they
Yeah,
glass bells or something, or like glass synths, or you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you mean. I didn't like I guess I didn't think about it quite like that, but yeah, no, that's totally true. It has this like glass clinking
Yeah.
sound to it. It definitely like sets up a scene,
Right.
for
Right.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I like I think it's before Spot Rushers, where I don't actually like the dialogue doesn't really draw me in that much. They're talking about like it's hot out and the sun isn't even out. But in the background, you can hear You God rapping, and I think you can hear RZA rapping, and that's actually from a St. Ides, like the malt. I guess it's a beer or something. I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
a big enthusiast. Let me do a quick Google search on that. St. Ides. Okay, so St. Ides was an iconic malt liquor from the 90s, and their commercials had a lot of hip hop artists, and this was,
Yep.
from what I understand, an original song that they had done for a St. Ides commercial, and you can actually listen to both the commercial and the full song, I think, on YouTube.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that actually, because I
Okay.
did watch. There's a bunch of commercials that, though not a bunch, but there's a few that they did back in the day. And there's a couple I actually kind of remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry,
Yeah.
but I didn't
So
realize that that was from that. Okay.
yeah. So pretty cool. Especially when you consider that You God died, like, at least in the story, died after the first track. It's like the ghost of You God coming back, or like a little recall to that.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
For sure.
kind of fun. Um, any other, oh yeah, I think you can imagine I don't like the skit before Can It Be All So Simple, just like the yelling and gun and gun blasts. It's basically the same reason why I don't really like the skit before Tears. Even though it does fit, it's like, I don't know. I don't feel
Yeah.
like I need to hear it, especially if I'm just like driving around or like having a conversation with someone in the car and this is going on in the background.
For sure.
But overall, I do like the skits in this one quite a bit. They fit pretty well, especially striving for perfection. And I agree with your sentiment about North Star, even though that's not really a skit, but it does like thematically kind of tie up like the story, and like, the credits roll in, like our hero has succeeded. He can do what he set out to do in the beginning. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that is Raekwon and Ghostface Killah is only built for Cuban Linx. As hopefully I've emphasized at one or 2 points thus far in the podcast, Andy and I are not experts, so we probably made a mistake or two. Feel free to let us know, wideworldofwoo@gmail.com, or look us up on Instagram, Wide World of Woo, all one word. We just cracked the 200 follower mark. So thank you to everyone who's given us a follow and engaging with us as we explore the wide world of Woo. I believe we're still on a quest for Patreon supporters. If you want to get in on the ground floor and help us elevate our game, we would love that, and we'll give you shout outs. Maybe we can dream up some other nice incentives, but you can request that we do an episode on a particular album, so feel free to get involved. That's all I've got for Cuban Linx. Anything else on your end, Andy?
No. Other than just had a lot of fun listening to this album. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So
Right on. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back soon, and we'll see you then.